Hey Chemical Guys family, today we're showing you guys 4 different types of paint defects and 4 different ways on how to remove them. The first one being clay marring. We also have holograms, heavy scratches, and light scratches. So let's get right into the video. So we're going to go over the first one right here, which is clay marring. Now clay marring is usually caused by whenever you're using your clay bar or clay block and not enough lubrication, or maybe you're applying way too much pressure to the surface. To indicate clay marring, you'll notice that on the surface it has more of a cloudy look. So it's not to say it's more of a scratch look. Now in order to fix this, you can actually just get away with using a one-step such as our VSS. This is our one-step VSS scratch and swirl remover. This is a great polish to go with in order to remove all these kind of paint defects. So we'll go ahead and set this up right now. So we'll grab our polisher here. Now we're using our TORQ 15DA polisher for this demonstration for today. And then to use our VSS with, we're going to be pairing it with one of our orange Hexalogic cutting pads. Now whenever you apply your pad to your machine, you want to make sure that it's centered as best as possible. That way you have even results. And then we're going to go ahead and apply a couple of drops of VSS onto our pad here. Now I normally like to put about 5 drops onto the pad itself. And then don't forget to condition your pads with a product like pad conditioner. This is really going to make sure that your product works as best as possible, and it keeps the surface from overheating and creating any kind of dust from your pad and the compound that's on it. So we're going to go ahead and give it a light spritz. You don't have to go crazy spraying a ton of it, just give it one light spritz and you're all good to go. And then we're going to go ahead and start off by blotting out the product onto the area that we're going to be working in. In this case, it's going to be this corner of the hood. And then once you basically blot it out as much as you possibly can, then you want to go ahead and turn it on to speed setting 1. You just want to spread it out as evenly as possible before you start working it in. Just like that, you should already be done just spreading it out. Like I said, this is just a quick thing to do. You don't have to spend a lot of time doing it. And then once you spread it out all nice and evenly, now you can go ahead and start cutting. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this on to speed setting about 3 or 4. I'm going to work this in until it becomes clear, and then we're going to wipe it off to see our results. All right guys, now that the product fully is breaking down, all you want to do now is grab yourself a clean microfiber towel and simply wipe off the residue of the VSS scratch and swirl remover. And just like that, you're all done removing the marring. Now, like I said, marring is considered to be more of a light paint defect. I wouldn't really label it as a heavy paint defect just because you can actually remove it with a bunch of different products. You can actually remove it with things like our VSS, which is a light cutting polish / compound, or you can even use a finer polish. You may be able to get away with the finer polish, and even sometimes just the carnauba wax will do the trick. So now that we've removed the clay marring, now we're gonna show you guys how to remove the light and heavy scratches. So I'll go ahead and start off with the light scratches. Now, whenever it comes to scratches, you wanna make sure that you don't go crazy in terms of compound and polish. So what I mean by that is you don't just want to go just straight into a heavy compound, because yes, obviously that'll do the trick, but remember, your clear coat does have a lifespan. So if you're just going to be hitting it with the heavy cutting compound every single time, odds are your clear coat is not going to last you a very long time. So that's why we always recommend starting with the least aggressive approach and then working your way to a more aggressive approach if need be. So just judging from the light scratches on the surface, I can kind of gauge what it would need. So for this, something like this, we'll probably go with something like our V36. Now V36 is a light cutting polish. So it is a polish, so it is on the finer side, but remember, it does have a slight cut to it. So it's not super aggressive, but it's not super fine at all. It's kind of in between. So we'll be using this combination of polish, and we'll also be pairing it with our TORQ 15DA polisher as well. So I'm gonna take off the orange pad that we use with VSS. Now we're gonna put a new pad on here. Center that as best as possible. And then we're going to apply the same amount of drops like we did with the VSS with the V36. So I'm going to go ahead and pour about 5 drops here. 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh. We'll go ahead and set that down, and then remember, pad conditioner, always, whenever using a fresh pad, just give it a light spritz, and you're all good to go. So right now, I'll go ahead and give this a 1-step with our V36, and then we'll go ahead and come back and check our results. If we need to go more aggressive, we'll go more aggressive. If we don't have to, we won't. And then we can actually just start refining. We can probably hit it with the V38 and just make sure that our paint is full in clarity. So let me go ahead and work in this V36, wipe it off, and show you guys the results. All right guys, now that we're done working in our V36, we're gonna grab one of our professional grade microfiber towels, and we're simply gonna wipe off the residue of the V36. And if you did this properly, this stuff should wipe off like no problem at all. You shouldn't have any kind of smearing results or anything. It should wipe off very nicely. And check it out, you guys. This thing looks incredible, has a lot more shine, has a lot more clarity. And really this, this was an easy fix for the light scratches. Can't wait to show you guys how to remove the heavy scratches, because as you can see, the heavy scratches are a lot worse than the light scratches that we have here. All right guys, now we're gonna move on to cutting away the heavy scratches and swirls on the heavy scratches corner. To do that, we're gonna be using our TORQ 15DA Orange X Logic cutting pad, and we're gonna be using our V32, which I mentioned earlier in the video. This is an extreme grade cutting compound. So this right here, it's extremely aggressive, and it's aggressive because it's designed to remove those heavy imperfections on your paint. So you have an older car that has never been polished, you have heavy scratches, heavy swirl marks, maybe it's oxidized where it has no shine at all, or maybe even have heavy water spots or bird poop etching. Those are all heavy defects on your paintwork. So to correct it, we're gonna go ahead and grab our V32, and we're gonna pour about 5 drops onto our Orange X Logic cutting pad. And really the difference here is, I can't really show you guys on camera because I'm sure it just all looks the same. But if you were to go ahead and touch this in person and you feel the chemical with your fingers, you actually feel that it's extremely gritty. Now, whenever you're using the Chemical Guys V-Line, you wanna make sure that before you wipe it off, you thoroughly work it in. And that's why we always say before you wipe it off, make sure it becomes clear and it's easy to wipe off. If you're struggling to wipe it off, that means that it hasn't fully broken down yet. So you better go back in there with your polisher, make sure that you fully break it down before you wipe it off for the best results possible. So right now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna polish the heavy scratches corner, and I'll be right back with you guys to show you the results. All right guys, so I just did this little small section right here with the V32. Now, right away, you'll see that this definitely brought back a ton of clarity. It got rid of those heavy imperfections like those scratches, but now there are finer micro scratches and swirls that we need to refine, just because whenever you go with the heavy compound, you must go back and refine with a finer polish. But I just wanted to go ahead and just stop right there real quick, just to show you guys the huge before and after of just using one product. I've already showed you guys how to achieve incredible results using VSS and just V36. Now I'm gonna show you guys the power of the Chemical Guys V-Line by showing you guys what V32 Extreme Compound looks like. And then we're gonna follow it up with our V38 with the white pad to refine the paint, bring out the shine and clarity, and get those ultimate results. All right guys, so now we're gonna go ahead and tackle the holograms on this corner of the hood. Now, holograms are usually caused by high performance, high speed rotary polishers. Now, in this video, we're using the TORQ 15DA. Now, this is a dual action polisher. So basically what that means is that it spins and it also oscillates at the same time. So I'll show you guys just very visually, just real quick. If you guys will focus on the backing plate itself, I'll go ahead and turn it on to speed setting 1. I want you guys to notice the pattern in which it moves in. So you guys can see that this machine, it also oscillates at the same time. So basically, a rotary, it only spins in one direction, which means that it's gonna go ahead and spin a lot faster. It's gonna have much more of a bite, especially when it comes towards your paint. And they're great machines. However, you do need to make sure that you know how to use them. In order to correct this, we're gonna go ahead and use a two-step combination, but we're gonna be using a different line than the Chemical Guys V line. So the products that I'm actually gonna be talking about is our Chemical Guys C4 correction compound and our P4 perfection polish. So this line of compound and polish, it's a little bit easier to work with in the sense that they do not contain diminishing abrasives, which mean they have a true cut, so they're gonna cut great from start to finish. So whenever you start cutting it, it's gonna start cutting exactly how it cuts all the way throughout the entire cutting process. And then when you wipe it off, you can wipe it off in as little as 1 to 2 passes. So we're gonna go ahead and use C4 first. So we're gonna grab a fresh orange pad, and we're gonna go ahead and put that on our machine polisher. And then we're gonna grab our bottle of C4 compound, and we're gonna pour about 4 to 5 drops on here. So you guys will notice right away, this right here is more of a liquidy kind of compound. It's not very thick like the Chemical Guys V line. And that's great because it's gonna allow us to work this very quickly, very thoroughly in a matter of seconds. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna grab some pad conditioner. We're gonna lightly spritz our pad. And then we're gonna start removing the holograms right here. Now, the great thing about holograms is that, you know, they're not really too hard to remove. You just really need to know what you're doing in order to remove them. So in this case, we're just gonna be hitting it with an old 1-2 combo, which is a compound and a polish. So let me go ahead and remove these real quick, and then we'll refine it with our P4 polish, and then we should be all good with this hood, and every one of these paint defects should be corrected. All right guys, and just like that, we're all done working in the C4 compound. So if you see this in real time, you'd actually notice that this actually took me about a minute or so to thoroughly work in the C4 compound. Now I do have a little bit of residue left behind, but that's no big issue just because I am going to be following it up with a polish. Now, one thing you have to understand when it comes to these holograms, which I think I kind of forgot to mention, is it's not caused by rotary polishers. What it's caused by is improper polishing technique. So right now what I'm gonna do after wiping off the compound, now I'm gonna refine it with the polish. So I'm gonna grab my TORQ 15DA polisher. I'm going to remove the orange pad, and we're gonna go ahead and put a white pad on here, because remember, whenever you cut, you refine. But you don't do it with the same pad, you actually have finer pads like the white polishing pad to refine the surface much more nicer than you would get the result with a cutting pad like the orange cutting pad. So right now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna grab some P4 polish. We're gonna go ahead and do the exact same thing. We're gonna pour about 5 drops onto here. 3, 4, 5. And then you can also spritz it with some pad conditioner. When it comes to polishing, you don't really have to worry about using pad conditioner too much just because you're not really doing high-speed cutting, you're just refining. All right, so after you apply your 5 drops of P4 polish onto your pad, now you just wanna blot it out. We're gonna spread it on speed setting 1. And then we're gonna turn it on speed setting 4, and then we're gonna thoroughly work it in until it's broken down. Now that we're done finally working in the P4 polish, we're gonna grab a fresh microfiber towel. We're gonna make sure that it's nice and clean. And then we're gonna start wiping off the residue of the P4 polish to reveal these beautiful crystal clear results. Now at this point of the two-step correction system with C4 and P4, your paint should look as glossy as a mirror. But that's basically gonna wrap it up for this video. As you guys saw, we just showed you guys 4 different paint defects and 4 different methods and how to remove them. We showed you guys how to remove clay marring, holograms, light scratches, and heavy scratches using just a few Chemical Guys products from our Chemical Guys V line, our VSS, and our C4P4 combo. So if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to give us a huge like, subscribe if you haven't done so already, and if you guys want to pick up any of the products that we used in today's video, including this pretty gnarly microfiber detailing apron, you can pick them up directly on our website, chemicalguys.com, or you can actually pick it up in person at your local detail garage store. As always, my name is Joey. This is Chemical Guys. We'll see you next time.